Welcome back to the Euro Fantasy video and podcast. This will be the best Limitless team for Matchday 3, and I'll probably show you an updated version in my team selection because I'm very likely going to use this chip, as I've always said from the very beginning, from my chip strategy guide and all the pre-season or pre-tournament content. The plan was always to use the Limitless in either Matchday 2 or 3, and it looks like it's going to be the last game of the group stages where I activate that chip and I save the wildcard for Matchday 5. Be sure to check out the best wildcard team video as well, but I have to say, these videos and podcasts are recorded quite early in the week on Thursday afternoon and before the likes of England have played against Denmark and that big game between Italy and Spain. So a lot could change from now until the time this video is published, because certain teams would have secured top spot or they would have secured qualification, and rotation is very likely for those said nations. So that's why I'll probably show you an updated version of the Limitless in the team selection and potentially the wildcard. If you want to see that, then let me know down in the comment section below and smash the like button of this video. Let's get this to over 200 likes and let's keep on pushing towards 25,000 subscribers and beyond. A huge shout out to all channel members, patrons, subscribers and super chatters. You're much appreciated. Check all the links in the description below to continue the conversation and to be engaged in Euro Fantasy, UCL Fantasy, the World Cup and also FPL every single season. Without further ado, let's jump straight into it. It's worth highlighting a few things before I begin with the goalkeepers and then go to the defenders, midfielders and forwards. So with the Limitless, it's like a free hit from FPL. You have no budget restrictions this time round. That's the key difference. But this squad will last you for one match day only. And one common question I'm asked in every single live stream, it seems, is can you make 2 free transfers, activate the Limitless, and then have those transfers follow through to your squad in the next match day, which in this case would be match day 4? The answer is no, you can't do that. But either way, it's irrelevant because in match day 4, for the round of 16, we have unlimited transfers anyway. You can't use the Limitless or the wildcard for that match day, just like you couldn't for match day 1. So really, the next time you can use either the Limitless or the wildcard will be in match day 5 for the quarterfinals. But for match day 3, I still think it's a great opportunity to use a chip. It can help you tackle rotation, and I have covered both chips extensively in my chip strategy guide, so be sure to check that out. It's still relevant at this point of the tournament. And one more thing, on YouTube, the graphics on the left hand side are from match day 1, and there was no point in me updating them because by the time this video is published, a few games would have happened and the points and rank would be completely different anyway. So all of that, the matchday points overall and the rank, are from matchday 1. But let's begin with the goalkeepers on the Limitless. With no budget restrictions, we are free to do as we please and go for the most expensive players. Jordan Pickford kept a clean sheet in that 1-0 win over Serbia back in matchday 1, and for the knockout stages, I think he's one of the best goalkeepers to look out for. But before we even get to that stage, in matchday 3, when you look at the fixtures, I think England have a great chance of keeping a clean sheet against Slovenia, who conceded in the dying minutes. In fact, it was the last kick of the game against Serbia in that 1-1 draw. So Slovenia will be tough for England. I think it could be quite challenging, but from a defensive perspective, I really fancy England assets like Trent or Gay at the back, and you've got Jordan Pickford to cover between the sticks. And if you look at his record for England overall, it is actually really impressive. And on the international stage, when you look at the tournaments, the Euros and the World Cups, he's set to break several records by Peter Shilton in terms of clean sheets and appearances. So Pickford is going to be in the history books for the national team. Let's see if he can cap things off with a trophy. But I honestly think he's one of the best goalkeepers in the game for matchday 3 against Slovenia. And the second goalkeeper is a hero from matchday 1. So if you had him, absolutely fair play, a bit of jam, but it doesn't matter. It was probably very deserved. And I'm talking about Unai Simon, who got 12 points against Croatia. And it doesn't matter, of course, if, for example, Spain concede against Italy, because that is a very tough game, to be honest, and Italy are one of the most successful national teams of all time. But Unai Simon against Albania, I could see a clean sheet there. He's capable of saving penalties, as he showed against Croatia, and I also think Spain could be one of the top 5 teams in this tournament, and in fact, they could even be right up there with the very best and the favourites to win Euro 2024. So Unai Simon and Pickford are the 2 goalkeepers I've gone for. A very different look to what I talked about back in matchday 2. And you have alternatives as always. Manuel Neuer remains a good option despite facing Switzerland. You could go for Galassi against Scotland if you fancy Hungary to keep a clean sheet. There's also Donnarumma against Croatia. With the way they're playing, I honestly wouldn't mind an Italian defensive asset in matchday 3 at the moment. And you can also go for the Denmark goalkeeper Kasper Schmeichel or a defender there against Serbia. And you've also got the likes of Casteels against Ukraine and potentially either the Romanian or Slovakian goalkeeper. Dubravka had a great performance in matchday 1 and Romania were very impressive in that 3-0 win over Ukraine. But the two goalkeepers I've gone for are Pickford and Unai Simon. The first defender on this Limitless is Virgil van Dijk, who is capable of ball recoveries as he's shown over the years with Liverpool in UCL Fantasy. He's got a decent fixture in Austria, and just before the tournament began, the Netherlands were looking very strong in the friendlies, and Virgil van Dijk scored in consecutive games for the national team, and his overall record in terms of goal scoring is very impressive for a centre-back when you look at what he does for the Dutch national team. So Virgil van Dijk is my pick here, but if Frimpong starts in matchday 2, and a lot of reliable sources indicate that Frimpong will also start in matchday 3, I'd maybe be tempted to go for him over Virgil van Dijk. There's no denying that. And if Frimpong doesn't start in matchday 2, there is still the possibility that he does for the final game of the group stages. So it's between those two for that Dutch defender slot. You also have the likes of Verbruggen at the back, who only costs 4.5 million if you want to go for that goalkeeper. But I honestly have to say Virgil van Dijk or Frimpong would be my preferences on the Limitless. And even De Vrij, if he starts again, he was very impressive in matchday 1 in terms of how he played overall. And he also made 8 ball recoveries, so he got a decent tally in Euro Fantasy. But let's move on to the other defenders now. And I think you'll be on board with these selections compared to Virgil van Dijk, because some of you might actually expect Austria to score, or you don't trust the Netherlands defensively so much, and that's completely understandable. But the next defender is from the same group, and it's Theo Hernandez, who has 14% ownership, and his price is 5.5 million. He faces Poland, and we had a big meeting between these two nations back in the World Cup for the round of 16, and France won 3-1 with a late consolation goal from the penalty spot by Robert Lewandowski, who should be back in matchday 2, and if he isn't, I'd still expect him to be available for matchday 3, and that would be a huge boost to Poland, who have still performed quite well without him. But I do think that quality and just that level of finisher could really boost their chances of going through to the next round. So I have gone for Theo Hernandez, but not only that, I've gone for another France defender in Jules Koundé, who is a ball recovery machine. I've said this time after time again. If you look at UCL Fantasy and how he did for Barcelona, Jules Koundé would always get decent tallies because of ball recoveries, and he got 9 points in matchday 1, and I think he could do something similar in matchday 2. Of course, I do recognise that in matchday 3, it's not going to be the easiest of games against Poland, but I do like this defensive double up. You've got Koundé for the ball recoveries and Theo Hernandez for the pure attacking potential. So you cover the best of both worlds. And if you want, you could double up on another team like Frimpong and Van Dijk against Austria instead of going for the two French defenders. That's completely fine, but I would recommend or consider Theo Hernandez and Koundé on the Limitless. And next up is the highest scoring defender at the time of this recording, and that's going to be Dani Carvajal, who registered 14 points against Croatia, and I think he could be a great option against Albania, who have caused problems to Italy and Croatia. But Spain were one of the most impressive teams in matchday 1. They were a bit fortunate to win 3-0, and I think Croatia deserved 1 goal at the very least. But Carvajal scored, got 8 ball recoveries, and he has cemented himself as one of the best defenders in the game potentially for matchday 3, and he could be someone to look at for the knockout stages as well. But you also look at the fact that Spain's defenders can be rotated quite a bit. But if you compare him to Grimaldo and Cucurella, I think Carvajal is far more nailed on than those two. And I think the centre-backs would be the safest option, so to speak. But Carvajal definitely has the highest ceiling, and he's in great confidence and form after that Champions League final goal against Borussia Dortmund. The final defender is going to be Joao Cancelo, and I'm going for 5 very expensive defenders from top nations, 1 defensive double up with France, well technically 2 as well if you count Spain with Carvajal and Unai Simon. Clean sheets are very hard to predict in this Euros tournament. There haven't been many at all, but I think all of these defenders and goalkeepers are capable of that. You can get saves from the 2, Pickford and Unai Simon there between the sticks. You've also got 5 defenders with ball recovery potential, goal threat, and also the assist and creativity, particularly from Carvajal and Joao Cancelo. It's very premature to say who's the best player in the tournament so far or who has been the best team, but Musiala has been a particular standout. He was player of the match in Matchday 1 against Scotland, where he scored, and in Matchday 2 he scored the opening goal, and whilst there was Gundogan who stole the show with a great performance, I still think Musiala was incredible, and he's going to be very difficult to stop in this tournament, and we could actually see Musiala winning the Golden Ball, or at least helping Germany go very far in this competition. But Germany have so many quality players, especially in the midfield with Gundogan, Kroos and Florian Wirtz, and I was very close to buying Florian Wirtz back in Matchday 1. I didn't, and then I was set on buying one of Musiala or Wirtz for Matchday 2. I bought Musiala, I was very happy with it, but I didn't put the captaincy on him, which is a big shame. But I would go for İlkay Gundogan and double up on the German midfield. But hear me out, because some of you might be thinking, well, Germany have qualified already, so wouldn't rotation be very likely? And yes, it is possible that they will rotate in certain areas. For example, Füllkrug could start over Kai Havertz and then have that competition going into the round of 16. But I still think they'll go very strong and Gundogan and Musiala will start, because Switzerland are on 4 points, and if they beat Germany in Matchday 3, they will top the group, and that changes the complexion of the round of 16. And Germany want to continue the fine form they're in and build upon the foundations from the first 2 match days, and I don't think Nagelsmann will rotate heavily like some people will believe. If you disagree, let me know down in the comment section below, and of course German national team fans will know even more about Germany than I do, and I'd be very interested to carry on that conversation in the comment section and also in the deadline stream as well. But İlkay Gundogan has been impressive in the first 2 match days, and I think he's a better option than Florian Wirtz at this moment in time. Let's move on to other players now from other teams, and I'm going to go for a very expensive player who massively underperformed in Matchday 1, but he still created multiple chances in the first half, and that's Kevin De Bruyne. And if I had to pick between him and Lukaku right now, I'd probably go for De Bruyne, but Lukaku is the talismanic figure in terms of goals, and I still think he could come good in Matchdays 2 and 3. But Kevin De Bruyne always creates chances for his teammates, and it has to be said he didn't play particularly well, especially in the second half, but Kevin De Bruyne is a great set piece taker, and from open play he still delivers moments of magic. And to finally complete this midfield, there are 2 slots left, and there's going to be 2 more 9.5 million midfielders, and one of them is going to be Jude Bellingham, but you can go for Saka instead, because Saka's record is better for the national team compared to Bellingham. But in Matchday 1, it was Saka getting the assist and Bellingham with a bullet header and a 12-pointer. And we'll see how they get on against Denmark in Matchday 2, and we can talk about that once again in future videos and podcasts. But I'd probably go for Bellingham at this moment in time, but Saka is still right there in the conversation. You could go for both, but I do prefer that German midfield double up. The final midfielder is another 9.5 million midfielder, and it's Bruno Fernandes, who was very close to getting an assist in the opener against Czech Republic. Portugal left it late but won the game in the end, and Bruno Fernandes is still my favourite Portuguese midfielder and also attacker, although Cristiano Ronaldo will certainly have something to say about that, and you can double up on Portugal offensively with those two. I'm not as interested in Bernardo Silva, but he's still a decent option for Portugal with a good record in terms of goals and assists there. But I think these 5 midfielders offer you great fixtures, a lot of goal and assist potential, and also you look at some of these players, they're some of the very best in the world. In most of my Limitless team videos and podcasts and UCL Fantasy and previous international tournaments, I go for very expensive players in the forward positions, but if Kylian Mbappe is out for Matchdays 2 and 3, and that's what most reports indicate, then I would go for Yamal and target that Albania fixture and to triple up on Spain, who are looking like one of the strongest teams at the Euros so far, and Yamal is just an unbelievable talent with so much potential. He's mainly getting assists for the Spanish national team, and his goal scoring record can certainly improve, and that will come over time, but I just really think Yamal has the player of the match award potential, which gives you 3 points, and also in terms of goals and assists combined, I think he's the best Spanish attacker period, even over Nico Williams or Morata, and you've even got Pedri in the midfield, who is certainly worth looking at, and Fabian Ruiz. But Yamal in a Limitless team would be my favourite Spanish attacker. Let me know down in the comment section below what you think of that. And I'd also go for Harry Kane against Slovenia. If England cement top spot though, then you could see a rotation happening with the 3 Lions, and the likes of Bellingham and Kane could be benched. So these 2 picks are actually quite risky. I'd be more confident in Germany not rotating, because their opponent Switzerland, if they win, they could actually usurp Germany and go top of that group, but you wouldn't see that with England if they were to beat Denmark on Thursday evening. So let's wait and see what happens there. That will be crucial, and if there is a possibility of England rotating a lot in matchday 3, I definitely reconsider these options such as Kane, Bellingham, and potentially Pickford, although I still think he'll play every single game irrespective of what the England result is against Denmark. The final attacker is still quite close for me because I think Lukaku can bounce back and he's got a great record for Belgium overall, but in the last World Cup he's missed so many chances. He did the same thing in matchday 1 against Slovakia, so I'm going to go for one of the best players of all time, a great goal scorer, and despite disappointing in matchday 1, I think that fixture in matchday 3 against Georgia is incredible. So I'm going for Cristiano Ronaldo, a Portuguese triple up with 2 attackers in Bruno Fernandes and CR7 himself, and I think this 15-man squad looks incredible. The biggest enemy will be rotation. The last thing to talk about is the captaincy, and we have plenty of options on each day. So to kick things off, on the 23rd of June, I would go for Jamal Musiala with the form he's in, but I certainly wouldn't discount Gundogan, and if you have Florian Wirtz and players like that, and if they're in the starting 11, I think they also make very good options for the first day of matchday 3. On the 24th of June, I'd actually go for Dani Carvajal if he starts, but Yamal is certainly a very good alternative, and you saw Unai Simon in matchday 1. He got 12 points, so you just never know with this game. On the 25th of June, though, it's a bit more difficult, potentially, but I think I would go for Harry Kane if he starts against Slovenia. And on the 26th, probably the most difficult decision of them all because you have De Bruyne and the Portuguese players on the same day, but I think I would go for Cristiano Ronaldo against Georgia. That's the way I see it, but Bruno Fernandes could still make a very good option there in the same fixture, and you've got Kevin De Bruyne who can perform against anybody, and the same goes for that fixture against Ukraine, which is always seen as the most difficult, but Belgium have lost already in matchday 1 against Slovakia. They need to respond ASAP in matchday 2 against Romania, and a lot could still change very quickly in this tournament. That concludes the best 50-man squad on the Limitless for matchday 3. Thank you very much for watching this video and listening to this podcast. If you enjoyed it or found it useful, then be sure to smash the like button and subscribe if you're new. Let's try to get this video to the 200 likes, and let's keep on pushing towards 25,000 subscribers, which is our next big objective on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, and check all the other links in the description below for my Patreon, the Championships Discord server, Euro Fantasy League, Draft Town, and also Spotify. Follow me on that platform and leave a 5-star review. It goes a long way to supporting the channel. I wish you all the best of luck for matchday 2, 3, and the rest of the tournament, and I'll see you next time.